Tēnā koutou katoa. Ata Māori e, and welcome to today's online hui hosted by PANNZ and Auckland Live. Ko te lena wihi peihana tōku ingoa he uri aho no Ngāti Tūkorehe me Ngāti Raukawa hoki. Thank you so much for joining us today I raro I te kaupapa o te rānei, ko Te Wiki o te Reo Māori. Thank you for joining us for our panel discussion, where I'll be speaking with three arts and te reo champions, Hinewehi Mohi, Hōhepa, Waitoa and our Tāhua Papa. And I'll begin our session with a karakia today, me karakia tātou. Tū tawa mai I runga, tū tawa mai I raro, tū tawa mai I waho, tū tawa mai I roto. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, taiki.
Taiki.
Kia ora anō, and a big welcome to those of you who are watching live on Facebook and YouTube, and those of you who may be watching this at a later date. Kia ora. It's Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, a celebration and a recognition of the hard work of Te Reo advocates in the revitalisation of our Indigenous language. Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori has been celebrated since 1975 and commemorates the presentation of the 1972 Māori Language Petition to Parliament. Today, we're focusing on how artists and arts organisations are doing their part to celebrate, innovate, and revitalise the Māori language. With a boom in popularity and many New Zealanders positively embracing te reo, possibilities are endless. So, what's on the horizon in the arts? Today, I'm speaking with three fabulous panellists about what they're working on, how they see the future of the arts in Aoteraoa and te reo. We're joined by Hinewehi Mohi, who is the Pito Whakarewa Māori Membership Growth and Development Leader at APRA, co-director, playwright, composer, tutor, producer and papa, Hōhepa Waitoa, and Tāhua Papa, the Kaihotu Māori at Auckland Arts Festival. And as always, we'd love to hear from you during the panel. If you have a question, just drop it in the Facebook Live comments. If you have a comment, just add that too, and I can share that with our panelists this morning. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome our first panellist for this morning, Hinewehi Mohi. Hinewehi has a 3-decade career as a singer, songwriter and performer. She has worked across the arts industry, including producing a wide array of programming for TV in New Zealand, with a particular focus on music-related content. She has also been a programming commissioner at Māori TV, an advisor to Auckland Council, a director, researcher, reporter and radio host. She's a champion of the Rokoturi Music Therapy Centre, co-produced the Waiata Anthems album, which was due to have a live performance this week before lockdown level 2.5. And she has been awarded for her work across the arts sector multiple times, including being a finalist for the New Zealander of the Year and becoming a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for Services to Māori. Tēnā koe Hinewehi. Thank you for joining us. Morena.
Kia ora, morena. Gosh, 30 years. Where is the time gone? Me mihi nui kia koutou katoa e whakarongo mai ana. E matakitaki mai ana ki tēnei kōrero. E kōrero mo te mahi toi. Te mahi waiata, te aha ko te aha, te mahi whakaari, he kaupapa mua ngai tātou te iwi Māori, mua ngai tātou te iwi o Aotearoa nei, te kaupapa, te tino kaupapa ki te whakangahau, ki te kōrero, ngā kōrero o tēnei whenua, o tēnei o ngai tātou, te tangata whenua, me te iwi katoa, ngā iwi katoa o te motu, hoi anō, he kaupapa nunui. I'd always loved to perform and loved to sing. And from my days at St Joseph's Māori Girls College, right through to Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato, where I was a absolutely adored kapahaka in every form and had wonderful tutors like the late Dr. Hirini Melbourne and Wharehuia Milroy, and still working with him today, Sir Timoti Kāretu. So I've been really blessed to be surrounded by incredible mentors for the expression of music and telling our stories through music. and using that platform to promote and revitalise Te Reo Māori, which is particularly poignant at this point with our celebration of Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. 48 years since the petition was taken to Parliament with 30,000 signatures to support the language and have it recognised as an official language of this country, which seems kind of nutty. That all those years ago, almost five decades, that it wasn't happening. And I guess I would love to continue to focus my efforts on the revitalisation of the language through performance of waiata, either through recordings or live performances, because it's something that transcends all boundaries. It's the most amazing thing to be able to express yourself or connect with people. It's a really, really powerful platform for telling our own stories and expressing our own sense of identity. And also it creates a wonderful sense of nationhood, particularly when we celebrate things like Mahuru Māori, Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, Waitangi Day, all those things that, and Matariki, when we come together and want to express our uniqueness as a people. My work at APRA has been a wonderful continuation on from the work that I started with Waiata Anthems last year. And it was an incredible project because it empowered the artists to sing in Māori and therefore really express their love for this country, but a love for the language as well. And also for all of us to be able to listen to those waiata and really feel connected to each other and empowered by the experience of cultural appreciation and participation. So that's the thing about music. You can passively listen, you can sing along even if you can't sing, and you can actually access the language. Sometimes for the artists involved with Waiata Anthems, at least, it was the very first time that they had ever sung in Māori and the very first time that they'd truly been able to access Te Reo Māori. So they were all nervous and all excited and all immensely proud, and I was too, of the way they championed the language with that particular kaupapa. So my work at APRA is about continuing that focus of creating a bilingual music industry and empowering people to really participate in their own culture and really feel the love of the language. So it's I'm really lucky. I keep getting lucky and luckier and luckier because I'm surrounded by amazing people who love the language and culture as much as I do, and also you know, I don't know if there's anyone in the world who doesn't appreciate music. Even if they don't follow a particular type of music, we can all relate to it. It reminds us of things. It creates incredible relationships, triggers to memories, and the way of being able to engage with each other. So I love it, and I hope that everyone can relate to it as well. Nō reira, besides talking about the 1999 Rugby World Cup when I sang the national anthem only in Māori, that's about me in a nutshell. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Hene Wehi. Thank you so much for the beautiful work that you're doing up at APRA. You're really right. It's such an incredible accessible point for people, music. And you say that you've got lucky, but I think that we've got lucky, our musicians, our arts industry and our audiences for the future music collaborations that you'll be doing with artists and the support for artists. So thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce our second panellist for this morning, Hohepa Waitoa. Hohepa is a graduate of Te Wānanga o Raukawa, where he completed a BA in Māori Literary Performing Arts and later graduated from the Panekiritanga School of Excellence in Te Reo Māori. He has worked as a program leader for the Bachelor of Māori Language and Indigenous Studies at Ara Institute of Canterbury, as well as a tutor, composer, choreographer, and founder for South Island's top kapahaka team, Ngā Manu Atani. A playwright and director of Te Reo Māori Theatre, Hohepa's works include He Kura e Huna Ana, which premiered at the Court Theatre and subsequently toured nationally with Takirua Theatre. He has also translated works for Takirua's Te Reo Māori season, including Te Kuia me Te Pūngā Wiriwiri and Hinepo. Most recently, Hohepa has been building new works through his newly established kaupapa Mahi Mahi Productions. These works include Jim's Room and the Te Reo Māori works Te Rongo Maiwhiti and Hinari, which premiered at Te Tai Rāwhiti Festival last year. Tēnā koe, Hohepa.
Tēnā koe, Terina. O tira tēnā tātou. Tuatahi e mihi ana kia koe te reo rōreka o Raukatauri. Kia koe rā hine wehi nā ui wāhi tēnei huarahi o ngā kōrero i tēnei rā. O tira ki te motu whānui e whakarongo mai ana, mātaki mai ana. Tēnei au e mihi atu nei kia koutou. He uri o hikurangi maunga, o puke tapu maunga e mihi atu nei. Ko hau tēnei, he pia pono ki te reo Māori. Me pērā ka tika ko tōku reo, tōku ohoho i ngā wā katoa. Ko hau tētahi i whānau mai ki tētahi ao Pākehā. Ko te reo Māori, kaore i rere i tōku kāinga. Nā reira, ko te ao haka tērā i kipa kipa, i aki aki i tautau i te ahi o te reo Māori ki roto i a mātou ko aku tuākana. Nā whai anō, ka huri atu mātou ki ngā whare wānanga, ki ngā whare ako pēnei me te pane kiretanga i raro i ngā parirau e rā, toko toru rā, pau te mara, tā tīmoti, me te ahorangi a whare hui a Milroy. Nōku te whiwhi, nōku te waimarie. Nā reira mihi atu kia koutou, ka huri au ki te reo hoko, huka, miraka, kope, moaku tamariki. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I love te reo, I love tikanga, I love haka, and I love whānau. And for me to be part of a creative group is really exciting. I come from a history of teachers, a background of about 15 years or so teaching te reo, tikanga, mātauranga Māori in tertiary institutions, but also kura across Ōtautahi and Te Waipounamu. But I'm a creative through and through, so after 15 years of trying to grind my way using my reo as my lunchbox and my pay ticket, it feels healthier to be in a space where I'm creating work for te ao Māori, for mātauranga Māori, for reo Māori. And what better way to do it than in theatre, than in composing waiata, because like Hinewehi said, music aligns to everybody. Everybody can connect to music, and so whether it's in te reo Māori or te reo Hapanihi, you find connection and mauri through waiata and hearing them, and much like theatre. So stepping off from a solid income was hard for my family and I. I've got 5 boys and they just eat the whole house dry, so you know what that's like. So yeah, stepping off the earning train and into a sort of a realm where it can be up in the air sometimes. It didn't really phase us as a whānau because we were healthier and our mauri is a lot more flourished and great. So put all of that aside, the reason that I'm here today and the reason that I'm in this realm, in this industry, in the arts, is because I see narrative every day. And I see narrative from my tipuna that relate to us every day, especially to our young tamariki and rangatahi. And so being able to provide a platform where those narratives can be heard, can be told by us, for us, but to everybody, it's something that I'm really passionate about now within theatre, been able to link horns with the likes of Nan, Te Raunga Kuia, Nana Hoki au Yaki Yaki. She gave me a good whipping or two to continue on this path. People like Hone Koka, Delina, everybody, Taungaroa, just coming into the industry has helped me connect with a lot of other Māori on the same waka. So my first piece, He Kure Hunana, was based on the Ngaitahu narrative of where Pounamu derives from, so the whakapapa connection of Pounamu. But the special spin that I put on this particular story was to modernize it as well. So I carried the narrative as a tuapapa, as a solid base, but also built a modern day narrative that coincided with this traditional narrative, because to me, whakatauki, kirehu, all of these kōrero from our tipuna aren't just there for us to hear. They're there for us to guide us, to help us guide others, to provide understanding, to whakatika if it needs to be. All these other aspects of our life that we live today are in the stories of our tipuna. And so that was pretty much how I brought up He Kure Hunana, and then from there I could just see so much more that our people can do in the theatre. Began to work with Tāne Mahuta and Takirua with He Kura, Te Koia me te Punga Were Were and Hinepau, which was, it's different. When you look at translating te reo into te reo Māori, it's different to when you're coining it off the top of your tongue. So you have to be mindful of the wairua. And I suppose this is a good encouragement for those that are into translating te reo Pākehā into te reo Māori, is not necessarily word for word, but you following the wairua of the kōrero, and that helps you to give it more authentic feel, no matter which language you're in. And then, yeah, we sort of jumped off the cliff and created Mahi Mahi Productions, no pun intended. I ka kāpātai mai te tangata ki au, hea te take ka tīpako koe I tērā ingoa. Me taku whakahoki ko tēnei, hari te mea e hāngai ana ki te āhuatanga kotahi. Ka hono te ao Māori me te ao Pākehā, ko te mahi mahi tēnā. Ka hono te reo Māori ki te whakaari Pākehā, ko te hono hono tērā. No reira, ki au nei, Mahi Mahi Productions was just a good, quick, catchy name. And even the te reo linguists will sort of turn the second look to have a, hey, what does that mean? But those that know me know that that's the type of person that I am, and I like to relate to everybody. Our first kaupapa that we created was Te Rongo Maipiti, which is, I took 4 of our atua and I built a whakapapa from those atua Māori to mokopuna. And these 4 mokopuna were sent to a whare wānanga to learn the special powers that they were gifted from the atua. So the atua that I chose were Tāne Mahuta, Tāwhiri Mātea, Rongo Maraeroa, and Tāne. Tūmatauenga, sorry. And so I built a whakapapa through our environment to these mokopuna. And we performed it last year. I've just finished writing the second part to it, and next year hope to build the third. And this will help to share the narrative of Mātauranga Māori. Hohau ki aku tamariki, they come home and they talk about Iron Man, Super Saiyan this, Super Saiyan that. And my akoranga to them is that we have our own Super Saiyans, we have our own superheroes, and these narratives are a way that our tamariki can see that and understand that. But also it connects them to te ao. We see a lot of changes happening in the world. Mehe mea tātou ka titiro ki o ngā mahi o tātou tipuna. If we look back at the trials and tribulations of our ancestors, the landscape is always evolving. It's always changing. And the environment's always changing. And so today, in this day and age, I feel it's more important than ever for us as Aoteraoa, as te ao, to understand what Mātauranga Māori is, what Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori means to Māori, what Mahuru Māori means to Māori, because for me, it's not just speaking Māori for 1 week or 1 month. Ao te pō te ao, day and night, is pretty much where we are at in terms of our passion for te reo, but it's been able to share as a country, as a people, as Aotearoa, and there's something unique. We go to the opera, we can listen to Italian being sung beautifully, but I'm sure we can create the same feeling with our reo and our tikanga in the same forum. So it's time for us, and I'm looking ahead to the future. Mahi Mahi is a part of the waka that's breaking down these walls of it's this unsafeness, this tikanga Māori versus tikanga Pākehā, koe, au, ia, all of these things it really just tears us more apart than it does bring us together. But through the arts, well, iwi kotahi tātou. When we see Hine Wehi singing the national anthem, sorry to bring that up again, but, you know, ka kāri te ki ake he Māori tērā, kei te ki ake he uri o Aotearoa tērā, you know, and that's what the world resounds, is that she's from Aotearoa, not firstly that she's Māori, but she's from Aotearoa, even though our iwi comes before our ethnic ability. But, you know, so within my young head, I see a lot more for our young people in the arts. And the more and more of us that can get involved in the arts and create an environment that's safe for our Māori within the arts, the better off the arts will be. Nā reira, I runga i tērā, kauhau, e mihi ana kia tātou i te āhuatanga o tā koutou piri mai ki tēnei kaupapa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Tēnā koe hohepa, ngā mihi kia koe mō tō whakaaro. I love that idea, that concept you're talking about of kotahitanga and the power that Te Reo Māori has to create that bridge, actually, for Māori and Pākehā to work together in the arts. And thank you for, you know, it's incredible the leap of faith that you took to leave a full-time job to come and work full-time in the arts. So I'm just excited to see what projects you and Mahi Mahi Productions come up with next. Kia ora. Now I'd like to introduce our final panellist for this morning, Tāhua Papa. Ata has worked in the arts for more than 25 years, including roles as Matariki Festival Director, Waitangi Event Director and Māori Arts and Culture Lead for Auckland Council, and previously at Creative New Zealand. She has a background as a singer, choreographer, musician, booking agent and cultural advisor, and is a teacher of Te Reo Māori, tikanga, customs and traditions. Ata recently picked up the baton at the Auckland Arts Festival in the newly created role of Kaihautu Māori, where she is responsible for Māori programming, the Toitu Te Reo program and the festival's Māori language plan. Good morning, Ata. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koutou e whakarongo mai nei. Tēnei te mihi atu kia koe, Delina, nau te ara I para I mua I a tātou I te karakia I te ata nei. Kia ku hoa kōrero, kia koe te, e hara koe te tuākana, engari kia koe takutita, me ki, kia ora hine wehi, kia koe hoki te tungane hohepa, ngā mihi nui kia kōrua, o tira kia tātou. E hui mai nei runga I tēnei kaupapa whakahirahira o te reo, ki roto I tēnei ao toi. Ko Waikato te awa, ko maunga tautari te maunga, ko Ngāti Koroki, ka hukura, te iwi, ko Pōhara te marae, ko a tāhua taku ingoa. Nōku te maringa nui, kia ori mai ki roto ki tēnei hōtaka, te hōtaka whakanui te wiki o te reo Māori, whakanui I te reo Māori, whakanui te kaupapa o Mahuru Māori, o tira ki te kaupapa o te reo tuku, te wā tuku reo Māori I te rangi nei. O reira, tēnei te mihi atu kia tātou, kua hono mai nei. Kei Tāmaki Makaurau ahau e noho ana I tēnei wā, engari, ko Waikato kei te manawa, ko Waikato kei te ngākau, no reira, tēnā tātou. As Delina has as part of her introduction, I am now the Kaihautu Māori at Auckland Arts Festival. And it's it's been a bit of a journey already. So 2 days into the job, we went down into this latest lockdown. So 2 days in the office and 2 weeks at home. So it was a bit ahuerereke, engari pai tēnā. Pai tēnā te noho taratahi, te noho tarawhare, te noho moho ao, ki te tiro ki roto. For all of us, it gave us a chance, I think, this whole COVID situation gave us a chance to really sit down and to think about what are the things that are important to us. And for those who were able to join onto all of the platforms and social media, I was blown away by the creativity of our people. With ahuatanga o te reo, everything to do with te reo, from kuramunga mokopuna, all of the kaupapa that presented themselves, te kōkō muka, the series of kōrero, and then just everybody, lots and lots of different kaupapa popping up all over the place, to the point where I sat down and I thought to myself, our people are really talented, and when you have to sit down and really look inside yourself about what's there, it's amazing what we come up with. It really is. And so then anyway, back to the kaupapa nei, Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. So so I've been involved in performing arts for a lot of years, and a lot of that has been trying to put the kaupapa of Māori arts on an international stage. Spent a lot of years in the United States, presenting Māori performances, presenting, being a cultural consultant on that side to kaupapa Māori. And this is in the times where kaupapa like, Whale Rider became very, very popular in the United States. And so a lot of people were saying, whoa, what's that place? What's happening over there? So it was a really good platform for us to actually leverage off and say, actually, it's not just about that story, it's about te ao Māori whānui. So, so as Delina mentioned, Auckland Arts Festival was the first organisation to sign a mahitahi agreement with Te Taurawhiri Te Reo, and to put together a language plan for an organisation that a lot of people would have seen probably predominantly Pākehā, whakaaro Pākehā, mahi Pākehā. So it's really awesome that organisations like Te Ahurei Toi o Tāmaki Makaurau nei, can take on a kaupapa of Toitu Te Reo, Māori language plan that helps people to hear, see and feel Te Reo Māori with every day of the festival. So for 2.5, sometimes 3 weeks of a festival here in Tāmaki Makaurau, people get to see that. And as Hohepa was saying about, there are so many more stories that we can put forward. And, with Hinewehi and all of her waiata, the waiata anthems, this is an awesome platform for these things to happen. So, so koia tēnā. I think kanui tēnā. I'll hand it back over to Delina. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Kia ora ata. Yeah, it's wonderful to hear about your background and the work that you've been doing in this new space within Te Ahurei Toi o Tāmaki for continuing to showcase Te Reo Māori in the arts in the Auckland sector, which you've already been doing as well through all of the amazing work that you've done over at Auckland Council, different initiatives like the Matariki Festival. And I wanted to just come back to that point, Hinewehi, you were talking about it's 48 years since the Māori language petition to government, and kind of the boom in popularity and the passionate embracing of Reo Māori by the mainstream, I guess you would say, as well as within the initiatives within our own Māori kaupapa, such as the Panekiritanga and all those amazing mentors you spoke of, Wharihuia Milroy, Herene Melbourne, Po Timara, Timoti Karetu, all of the amazing work that goes on to get to this point. Hasn't been magically happened. It's been a lot of effort and resistance and struggle and advocating for the revitalisation of our language. And I wanted to just talk about some of the behind the scenes that have gone on, particularly perhaps within the Māori music space and Ata as well within the Auckland Arts Festival. There's actually been initiatives that have been put in place in order to create roles within the arts for particular people who are specifically tasked within their organisations to help grow and develop Māori artists and grow and develop Te Reo Māori. arts. So perhaps I'll start with you, Hiniwehi, if you could speak to that topic.
Now, when I think about back in the day of when I first started singing in Māori, so I had my Oceania album release in 1999, and the world really was intrigued about waiata Reo Māori and performance, and I was accompanied on stage by haka performers who stylised and made contemporary haka movements to my waiata, and the world was really enamoured by it. And yet when we came home, there wasn't the same sort of support for it, and I always wondered why that was, and why there should be a reluctance to be proud and excited and celebratory when it comes to the culture. But I think there's been a considerable groundswell about the love of the language, and how we can all engage and be language champions and take responsibility as well as celebrate the language through art forms or through participation in other ways. And I think about my role at APRA to grow and develop Māori music and our Māori membership through APRA. And Tama Waipara was a significant force in making that happen, among others, and Wana Maniapoto, great champions of the culture and language and all that we are as the inhabitants of Aoteraoa and the guardians of this land and our language and culture. So I'm really grateful to those people who have banded together to prioritise these kinds of roles, and also work very hard in their own roles. Tama's at the Te Wiki Arts Festival and really growing that. First year, last year, off the bat, amazing. A really diverse expression of performance on stage and in different ways, using the arts to tell our stories. So that kind of work is really important, and I know for Ata and her role at the Auckland Arts Festival is equally as important, and an opportunity for us to be vibrant and really show the rest of the world how incredible we are. And I think that we have this point in time, even though we are in these sort of weird unequal levels. I'm down here in Heretaunga, Paki Heights, Kahungunu girl, and I look up there at Tāmaki Makaurau, and they've got a little bit extra restriction going on, and our whanaunga down there in Te Waipounamu, kia ora to you fellas as well. It's a strange time, and but it's our opportunity to show the world just how incredible we are, and how amazing our cultural spectrum can be, and how we can express it. So I think that it's an opportunity that we should take to reach out to the world through the different digital ways that we can get into and infiltrate and showcase our uniqueness.
Kia ora, thank you, Hiniwehi. Aoteraoa, I'll come to you next for your perspective on different initiatives, and in fact, what are you feeling like your aspirations are for the Toi Tū Te Reo program in your new role?
I think the aspirations here. I just want to backtrack a little bit and just pick up on something that Hinewehi said at the beginning of that kōrero about being overseas and people wanting to learn more about Te Ao Māori and Te Reo Māori and kaupapa Māori, and they, wanting Te Reo lessons when they're living in London because they've been away. A lot of expat New Zealanders have been away for a long time, and they suddenly realise, I think, once they get over there, wow, we've got something special. Hoki mai ki te kāinga, and it's not the same. And so I think, lately, with this whole kaupapa of lots of non-Māori wanting to now get into to classes to learn Te Reo Māori, to the point that there are no vacancies in any beginner reo classes. And so I think, on one hand, that is awesome. That is totally awesome that all of these non-Māori want to get in and they want to learn Māori. But, we encourage some of our Māori people to actually get into that space as well. Like Hohepa, we grew up in a house where Te Reo Pākehā was the language that was spoken. And it wasn't until we got to high school that we made a conscious effort to actually choose Te Reo as a language option, getting into third form and having to think about, that's how old I am, we had third forms then, getting into language options. And so, Te Reo was offered alongside Italian and Spanish and French and German. And it was just like, okay, well, you can do that or you can do that. And I thought to myself, no, I want to learn Te Reo. And a lot of that came from, we have a Pākehā mother. And she made an effort to learn Te Reo. So she signed up at the correspondence school to learn Te Reo. And Api Mahuika, I think, was one of her teachers back in the day. And so that was our inspiration. We used to see her books lying around and pick them up and have a read through and listen to her trying out her kōrero. And so it became, sort of ingrained in us that, this was a part of who we are. And of course, our parents and grandparents all spoke Māori to each other, spoke Pākehā to us. So, it was a bit of a turning of the tide. And so, and then picking up with Hinewehi about the being, overseas and people wanting to learn more, and just non-New Zealanders really enamoured with the whole kaupapa of, geez, here's this reo. And I just wanted to remind Hinewehi, I think, that I went to a hui and I went to a gathering in Florida, a luau, and a hoike. And there was a group who actually choreographed a hula to whakaawe, which I thought was so awesome. And it was like, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is where it's come to. They want to, put their own stylized movements to your waiata. So that's awesome. But coming back to the arts festival, as I said, we're about having Te Reo seen, heard, felt. We want to put Te Reo out there on that platform in Tāmaki Makaurau, and really try to. There's a lot of kōrero, kaikiri kōrero going around at the moment. All of the kōrero going about, racism here and racism there, and what can we do as these institutions and as these organisations to flip it around? And I think that the kōrero about the whole racism thing, we need to try and get in there and flip the way that people think. And if they see things in a positive light, then they're more inclined to pick up some of our whakaaro and the way that we think about things. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. For our matariki as part of Auckland Council, we made a good a great attempt at that, and to get it into the heads, to get the idea of matariki and kaupapa Māori, and this is a special time of the year for us specifically, that is specifically New Zealand. And so, that whakaaro has grown legs of its own, and he mihi nui kia rangi mātāmua for all of his work in putting that whakaaro out over these years with his re-release of kaupapa in relation to matariki. So we have all of these events, and so it's about, I think we're just going to keep peppering away, take a buckshot approach almost as well. I think I've heard it being referred to, buckshot approach, and that we just throw it all out there and see what lands and see what comes of some of all of these kaupapa that we're doing. So, he taonga tuku iho te reo. Our language is a treasure that has been passed down, and so it's up to us to make sure that we use it as much as we can. So kōrero, kōrero Māori i ngā wā katoa, i ngā wāhi katoa. And i tēnei wiki, i te wiki o te reo Māori, he kaupapa nui tēnā. Me te mohio, ahua rua tekau meneti, ka tū te wātuku reo Māori ki te rohe whānui o Aoteraoa nei. So, encourage everybody at 12 o'clock to stop what you're doing and do something to be part of Te Wātuku Reo Māori as an initiative for people to be out there singing or listening to a waiata or speaking Māori, for however long you think it's awesome. You think it's possible. I mean, it is awesome, but so koina taku. I don't even know if I answered your question though, sorry.
Well, look, everything you said was amazing. I just really wanted to come back to what you were saying about growing up speaking Pākehā in the house and then finding your passion to learn Reo Māori. And I think that that also talking about racism for many Māori, certainly for myself when I was growing up, I had a lot of internalized racism because of the racism that was sort of out there. And because my father didn't speak Te Reo Māori, it's almost like it only takes kind of one generation to lose it, and he was of that generation of the urban to rural to urban drift, and his mother making a decision that for her younger children that the Pākehā way was the way of the future, that kind of the whole assimilation approach, this is going to be best for everybody. However, it only takes one generation to lose it, but how many generations does it take it to get it back? So to me, all these amazing, I'm a student at Te Wānanga o Aoteraoa and then Runakitanga course. Our whānau's on a Te Reo learning journey. We've got our kids enrolled in Reo Rua and Rumaki units for their schooling. So we're trying, a whole approach as a family to revitalise the language, and it's a journey. And I think through the art, it's a journey as well. And I wanted to come to you, Hohepa, to ask you about your transition kind of from a very Te Ao Māori space of haka and composing waiata for haka, and then moving into the theatre space, which in many aspects is kind of a more Pākehā space, so to speak. And how have you found that and find that transition?
Yeah, pai te rapatai. I think I'm just comfortable in my own skin to begin with. So like I said to you the other day, I'll just run it straight anyway, however it is, and I am who I am. So yeah, it's actually different. Like I love being in the classroom, probably why I'm here at Te Kura Kaupapa Māori or Te Kura Whakapūmau i Te Reo Tūturu trying to get a couple of days mahi in, because I love it. I love being in the environment. Teaching is something that I love as well. What sort of didn't really, where I started to hit a wall was when teaching in a mātauranga environment, and then you go into sort of the administration management realm, and you lose that authenticity of Te Ao Māori within hui, within kaupapa. And so at the ground floor, at the tuapapa, we're slaying, we're trying to build this foundation of beautiful reo, beautiful tikanga for everybody. And then you step outside the classroom and you go into a hui, which is a couple of levels up, but to me, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. So stepping into the theatre realm, Delina, was okay. Pretty lucky to have whanaunga and whānau around whilst, shadowing me into the kaupapa. One of the important things that I do when I go into a theatre is I take the mauri of my work with me. And what better way than karakia to carry that mauri in and out of the theatre, whether it was built by the hands of Pākehā or not. For that time that I hold that marae space, that will be the mauri that revolves around it. So it's that feeling. You got to present the feeling of Te Ao Māori, and then I think from there those footsteps start to come closer and closer towards our kaupapa. Like I'm really enjoying the way that the arts industry is taking on te reo and tikanga and mātauranga Māori narrative. We need to push harder, and we just have to be comfortable with ourselves and be ourselves in those forums, and not relinquish one or the other. You know, he toto Pākehā tāku. I got Scandinavian blood from my grandmother. So, you know, e whakanui ana au I tērā tātai hono aku. If you meet my sister, you'll know she's kiri tea as and blue eyes. And here's me, brown hair, black eye fella. But, you know, whakapapo ko tahi tātou. So we understand that. And, you know, much like Ātāhua, we were brought up in an ao Pākehā environment. Our ways of showing respect to our kaumātua was sir and ma'am. Thank you, no thank you. So those were all the mannerisms that we were given, which is exactly the same in Te Ao Māori. You just have a different word for it. And it's called a different tikanga. So yeah, it can be done, Delina. It's just you got to be comfortable with who you are, what you're doing, and just be ready to go in straight and hard.
Awesome, thank you. I think that comfortability in your own skin is a big one too. And for many Māori, that's about finding out who they are, and the te reo journey can be a big part of that. And for Tauiwi or Pākehā as well, it's that sense of who you are as a New Zealander, which te reo has a wonderful pathway to offer. Okay, cool. We're coming up to about 15 minutes until the Te Wā Tuku Reo Māori, the Māori Language Moment. So I'd just like to, which I know some of our panellists have to jump off and be involved in some celebrations at 12 o'clock. So I just want to come around to each panellist and ask for a suggestion of something that, two things, a suggestion of something that people could do for their Māori Language Moment today when they jump off this panel, and also what's something in the arts and te reo Māori that you're looking forward to. So I'll come to you first, Hinewehi.
Just listen to a waiatai, Huama. Listen to a song, sing along with the song, or write a song, perform a song, or just soak up some beautiful waiata. There's very, 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 very many. Spotify has great playlists of waiata reo Māori, so you can just very passively have a listen, and it will give you confidence to be able to approach and access your own language. I can hear Hinaro Katodi's already started singing in the background. So I should probably go soon.
Thank you. Aoteraoa, I'll come to you next.
I tika, listen to a waiata. What I would encourage people to do for their reo moment is actually have a look up a word or something that relates to where you are, or if you're at home or if you're at mahi, that relates to where you are, and see if you can use that kupu in its correct contents for the rest of the day. And then I encourage people to the next day to do the same thing, so that you build up your puna kupu. What I will say for te reo is, I think one of the biggest things that everybody can do is actually just to make a commitment to learn the correct pronunciation of kupu Māori, specifically place names, which are always mispronounced, and it's like, it sort of makes you shrivel up and cringe sometimes at some of the really bad pronunciation that happens. So I would encourage everybody to actually take the time to learn the correct pronunciation of the place that you live in, if it has a reo Māori, to learn the Māori name of the place that you live in, if it doesn't have a Māori name, if it's not known by a Māori name commonly. But those are some of the things that I would do. And in terms of the arts, I'd say, get out there and support the arts, get out there and tautoko, come to festivals, go to shows, go to theatre shows, go to concerts that are being delivered in te reo Māori, that are being put on by Māori artists. So, we need to support each other in these really strange times, as he was saying earlier. So, yeah, those would be my suggestions of what people can do for, te reo Māori and support of te reo Māori going forward. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Hohepa, over to you. What can people do for their Te Reo Māori moment suggestion, and what are you looking forward to in Te Reo and the arts?
Yeah, normalise Te Reo would be the suggestion for today and rest of your days. Normalise Te Reo. It'd be really cool for me to walk through PANNZ with my tamariki and, you know, kei te kōrero Māori, mātou kia mātou, and you look at me and smile rather than look at me and give me a, hey. So normalise Te Reo. It's okay to hear it. We hear many, many different languages. And just to go back to Lena, it takes 1 generation to lose a language and 3 to get it back. So that's where the whawhai is. For the future of the arts and Te Reo, just whiua ki te ao, whiua ki te rangi, whiua ki ngā iwi katoa.
Ka pai.
Kia ora. And that is coming to the end of our panel today. Thank you so much for joining us, those of you out there, and a huge mihi to our panellists, Hiniwehi, Hohepa and Aoteraoa. Thank you to the team from PANNZ and Auckland Live, and thank you also to The Big Idea. Our monthly online hui series will continue with our next hui in October. And this Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. will be the continuation of our online live stream kōrero on arts and climate action with Track Zero and Auckland Live. This week we'll be speaking with scientist Professor Sean Hendy, music artists and community arts advocates Whaumu Matt Salapu, aka Anonymous, and Norma Seal Whaumu, writer and theatre maker Joe Randerson from Barbarian Productions, and visual artist and performance artist Lisa Reihana. So to close our session today, I'm going to ask Hohepa to close with a karakia before we can all jump off and go and enjoy your Māori language moment. Kia ora, Hohepa, thank you.
Kia ora. Nā kingi I haka tēnei karakia I te wā, I haria ia I te pētihana mo te reo Māori ki te whare paremata I pōneke. No reira kia inui tātou. Nau e te atua kaharawa I hou mai ngā reo o tēnā iwi puta no I te ao. Tukuna mai ana e koe ki etahi te whakamāoritanga o aua reo. Ko tō mātou reo, ko te reo Māori. I hou mai e koe I te o roko hanganga rāno o te ao. Kia mātou, hei koha mā mātou ki te ao. Kia koe anō hoki. Tēnā koe te orana, te kingi tahina, me te tama te wairua tapu. Ko tahi anō atua, ke tonu atu. Āmine.
Āmine. Kia ora tātou, nō reira. Kia pai tōra, tō koutou rā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā koutou katoa.